Okay, it's up. Everyone's ready. I will give you a second to put on your headphones. And if you notice you have a volume knob on your headphones. Hey, Igor, that's a surprise.
Didn't want to miss the talk.
Okay, so yeah, didn't want to miss. So cute. Okay, so Igor, play along here. Ready to start? Yeah, soccer fans here. We're ready to start the talk. So let's start. We're talking about dumb and smart components. So I'm Shai Reznik. I'm a long-time front-end developer and consultant. These some few words that describe who I am. If you watched last year NGConf, you probably saw me sexual harass Mishko. You don't see my hand there, but trust me. Okay, so if you didn't watch it. And I am a founder of highres.io, which is an online school that teaches web development, but for people who don't have time to watch courses, okay? It's very short, funny, and to the point, and I just released my first course on Angular 2, preparing for Angular 2, how to write your Angular 1 code. It's free, okay? You can just sign in and watch it. It's relevant for this talk also. Okay, survey, quick survey. Who uses components? Who write components? Okay. Who uses ng-include and ng-controller in his code? Okay, half of the people. Okay. And who uses Redux or Flux? Okay. And RxJS? Gerard. Okay. Of course. Okay. Just a quick survey. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is data flow. Three things: data flow, components, and smart and dumb components, okay? So let's start by telling a story, okay? This is a true story. It happened to me and it happened to some of my friends. Probably happened to you too, or to some of your friends. And it goes like this. You're writing your Angular code, okay? And happy, and then a friend, everybody got this friend, okay? Come to you and say, seriously, bro, you're doing Angular? Move to React and Flux, bro, okay? And then you're like, okay, so I should probably start moving my code to React and Flux. And then, by the way, this is not Jeff Cross, okay, if you wondered. Okay, so a day later, okay, the same friend who probably his beard even grow faster than possible, comes to you and look at your code and tell you like, Flux, so 2015, use Redux, man. This is the new hip thing. And you're like, okay, refactor into Redux, obviously. Okay, I need to remove all of my code and move to that new technology or paradigm. And then a week later, you go to some meetup and you meet another guy, and he is telling you, asking you what you used, and then he like, Redux? Really? Don't use Redux. It's awful. It will kidnap your children. Don't use it. Use Cycle.js, dude. Okay? It's much more functional, reactive programming, and then at this point you're like, okay, shut up, man. Okay? Okay? Because it's too much stuff, right? Too much stuff, too many words, okay, we need to handle in our day-to-day work, right? Like with Flux and Redux and Reflux and Plux and Cycle.js and RxJS and Xfactor and NGRX and Deus Ex and ET the extraterrestrial and ReadJFlux, probably there is on GitHub, and XXX and Elm. Okay, this is the new thing, and I don't know what about you, but I feel dumb every time a new technology or a new paradigm gets out. It's like all the past 10 years of the front-end development of mine, like completely down the toilet, right? And this is, I think, a lot of us like move through these stages between like we know something, we don't know shit, okay? But I also love it, okay? Because it's great because it's inspiring, okay? If you have the chance, okay, we have this day-to-day work, but if we have the chance to actually review the code or the motivation behind what of those smart people who create those libraries, like Dan Abramov who created Redux, or Andre who created Cycle, if they release all their like motivation for it, and you shouldn't like rush and change all of your stack, right? Because even those solutions aren't perfect yet. They aren't tested at large scale applications and stuff like that. But it's really interesting to read the behind the scenes, the thought process, because we're basically trying to solve the same problem, which is web development, right? So it's a good thing to read behind the scene and to share your knowledge, right? Because sharing is caring. So I encourage you to read and not go into this React versus Angular wars and what are you filming this? Not go into this war because it's a pretend war, right? We are all in the same world trying to create web apps, and so as this talk was born out of like me trying to learn about React and Flux and Redux, all these buzzwords that I just told you about, and when I read about it, I discovered that they're all talking about the same thing, which is a core principles in architecture, in web development architecture, which is data flow, okay? And this is true even if you use like Angular or like technology from 10 years ago. So just as a short explanation, Flux and Redux talking about one data flow. We heard it like over the past like 15 lectures, and but it's a new way of thinking, and apparently if you use this paradigm, you get much better debugging tools and stuff like that. So it's worth exploring. And Cycle and with RxJS and Rob's NGRX, you see I confused myself. It's talking about the same thing but with observables. And I don't know about you, but every time I hear about observables, I'm like, okay, I can't really wrap it out, so don't ask me questions about it. I don't know yet what's going on there, okay? So, but to get back to the point, data flow, okay? They're all talking about data flow, and this is what I want to talk today. Really easy diagram, okay? We have a user and the server, and in the middle we have the client or client-side web application, which most of the time is like view and logic. Let's separate the two, and the logic is the application brain, okay? And this is how I like to see it, and the view is the component tree, okay? So what is a component? Some of you might ask. So another story, okay? So back in the old days, when we used to write web applications, we used to write them with big-ass templates and one JavaScript file, right, with thousands of lines of code, okay? And then frameworks like Angular came along and gave us MVC frameworks, gave us these tools we can use. In Angular 1, it was like ng include and ng controller, which I like to see it as also the brain and the looks, okay, of the parts of our big-ass template, okay? And then we started using these tools, but it wasn't, these tools weren't restrictive enough. They didn't give us strict rules. So we often see applications that people use one ng controller for two ng includes, right? Who done it? Okay, no, don't have to admit, okay? And the other way around, right? Two ng controllers with one view and stuff like that. And it turns out that it's not really optimal. And then came React and suggested that, hey, you know, maybe we should stick with one controller and one view. And that's it. And we call it a component. And then Angular fanboys said like, we have it already. We have directives, right? But not exactly, because directives are two-way, like they have this two-way data binding. And also apparently it's not the right way to go, because when you start changing stuff on your parents without your parents knowing about it, you get confusing like side effects and stuff like that, and you make unicorns cry, okay? So don't do it. So then Angular came along saying, yeah, fabulous, let's create Angular 2 with components, and then we have this decorator component, which is the ng controller from before the controller, but with this new name component and the template. So we have just one-in-one relationship. And we have also one-way data binding, which is better with the input decorator. And apparently, Angular 1.5 recently released added this new dot component, which mimics the Angular 2 way of writing code. And we see the same thing. We have, instead of classes, we have the function, but basically it's the same thing. And we have one-way data binding, okay? It's, if you haven't heard about it, okay? The cameraman just, woo, or someone else, I don't know, okay? You're doing Angular. Okay, so, yeah, it's a really cool feature that I'm personally been waiting for a lot. So you can tell all your React friends, hey, we have it too now, okay? So components are about composition. You can put components inside of other components, and they have an API, okay? If you can communicate with your parents, stuff we all did probably in one point or another. With events, you can raise events, and we can get the state from our parent. And we can inject services, okay? This is what we did, all of us, with controllers, right? So this is like a short, really short explanation of components. By the way, did I mention I have a course about some of the stuff, okay? Okay, so how do we connect this application brain, okay, to the component tree? How do we make the connection? This is a really interesting question to ask yourself when you designing an app or a large-scale enterprise app, which hopefully your small app will be. And we have few options. The first option that we see in like other frameworks or blog posts or tutorials and stuff is to flow or to pass the data from the root all the way to the bottom, right? It's like the one way passing the state down the hill and then catching all of the events up to the root component, which talk to the application logic. But I tested it at large scale, and I ended up with this thing, which is like, now I need to know about my grandchildren data and stuff like that, and it gets really messy and ugly, and it's not very optimal for large scale. And the other option is to just inject like the app logic services into every component, but that's not optimal either, because you can't really then reuse your components for other purposes. So now it's the part in the talk where we talk about dumb and smart components, because this is a suggestion of how to construct our application. So what is a dumb component? Okay, first of all, let's show a couple of examples. Okay, let me know if you see it. This is a submit button that keeps avoiding your click. Okay, this is a very dumb component. Okay. Okay. So another component is a select button who explodes when you click on it, and the last component is a marquee, which we all remember for the bed. Okay, so yeah, but let's go back to our presentation. So yeah, that was dumb, as Bonnie liked to say, but we don't. It's not really what we're came here to talk about. Actually, I've been talking about this subject for years, just didn't call them dumb and smart components, call them directives and sections and stuff like that. And look, I look like a matador, right? Yeah. So then part of my research, I came across Dan Abramov's blog, who created Redux, which, by the way, as a side note, Dan is super smart. You should read all the stuff he writes. and more importantly, is super nice, which I think more important than smart in this day and age. So you should read his stuff. And I came across this blog post about smart and dumb components, and I thought to myself, great, we're talking about the same thing, okay? But I really like the name. Since then, he changed the name, okay, and because maybe didn't like the dumb and smart part, but he called them presentational and container components, stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. It's the same exact principle. So, and of course, his blog posts about React stuff. So for Angular people, you have like stuff like higher order components, which sounds more like something from the new Star Wars movie or something like that. But I'll be that guy, okay? So dumb components, okay? So what is dumb components? Really, really simple. It's a component that gets all of its state from its parent component and raises event, emits events when something's happened. Really dumb, doesn't have a context of the application. That makes it reusable. And we can reuse the same component in other parts of our application. Examples for dumb components are a select box, which we have from the browser, but also we can create like user card for different users, or panels, which can also be reusable and stuff like that, or buttons and such. And as I said, they are blind to the rest of the application. They shouldn't know about the application. Smart components, on the other hand, should inject app-level services, okay? So they can get like state from them and call methods on them, and then pass this information to the dumb components. So if we review the options that we saw before with the root component and other like only dumb components, or the only smart components, now we have a better way of doing it, which is using that combination, okay? So just separate your concerns with which branches in your app tree need to have the app level data, and which should be reusable and should know nothing about your application. And then that way you win. So demo time. I prepared a huge demo application so I can show you what, like, real life example. Oh, I didn't know Linux have like blue screen of death. Okay. So you know what? I have a plan B. Okay. So I will need 2 more volunteers. Okay. So Gerard, come. And anyone want to volunteer? I see you smiling. Come on, Leo. Come on. Okay. So we'll just demonstrate with live people what, like, how the data flow works and stuff like that. So you already sat down, so you will be the dumb component, okay? Great. I didn't choose it, you chose it. Okay. Okay, now, Igor, come. You will be the smart component, okay? Like a boss, okay? Come stand here. Gerard, come here. And you will be the app level service. Okay. So, if you remember the rules, okay, I will be the user. Okay. And now, as a user, I will emit an event. I will click on a button. Now, sit. Now, you need to pass this to the app level service. Go. Okay, no. Okay? First mistake. You don't do it. You're dumb. You don't know about the app level service. Pass it to the app level service. Okay, now what do you do, Igor? Okay, they know each other apparently. Okay? So they pass, and then something's happened. You see, I invested a lot in the technical stuff. And now a state was changed. And now you should pass it to the dumb component. Go. Yeah, Gerard, know the flow. Okay, give a round of applause. Okay, let me show you. Stay. By the way, you see, he gave them sort of upwards and not sideways like the smart components. Okay, so now I will show you just a quick demonstration of how it looks with Redux. Okay, pass the event. Let's say it's event. No, didn't you learn just now? Okay, Leo, don't mess around. Okay, just do what I told you. Okay, great. Stop. I'm a dispatcher, okay? This is Redux. This is all you need to know. Okay, now, now, I have time, okay. Now I'll show you how it is with the cycle or RxJS and observables, okay? Pass the event, okay? Stop. How are you doing? I observed you. I'm gonna go to the stream. No, okay, this is all you need to know about RxJS. Okay, give a round of applause. Okay, awesome. Let me just fix. You can sit down, leave the stuff. I didn't give me this set. This is my wife's. Okay, so great. So you stay here. So let me just fix the problem, like in the movies, like when they do like this. Oh, and we're back! What a surprise! Okay, so Bonnie recommends that you, for DOM components, when you get your mockups from the designer or from the product, just figure out which are the DOM components and create them from the start. Otherwise, refactor as you go. If you need to reuse, it's common sense, right? But still, I wanted to put it on a slide. So just refactor, just extract the parts that are usable into DOM components and pass all the information up from upwards. And for Smart, all the rest of your application. Basic stuff, people. It's really, really easy. So this is what Bonnie recommends. And we still have more to cover in this topic, which is presentation set. How do you orchestrate it? And OK components, which are not so dumb and not so smart. They're OK, okay? But we don't have time, OK, to explain. So in summary, use components. DOM is more reusable, and get inspired from other frameworks and work together, create shared libraries, and build a better web development world. Thank you very much. My lovely assistant, Igor Minar.